get into what that is. So a little agenda here. So first, I'm going to ask you folks some questions. It's a pretty small group here, pretty intimate, which is great. Just understanding kind of what brought you here and what you're interested in. And yeah, just sort of what you want to know about data flow diagramming and your target workflows. Then we'll kind of go through some basics in terms of what is data flow diagramming, why would you do it, why is it important, and all that sort of stuff. Then I'll quickly walk through the high-level steps for how to build a data flow diagram. And then it's going to be time to draw. So you'll see some pieces of paper, legal paper with some nice fun marker colors. Feel free to use those. You can also use Excalidraw or Miro or Confluence or any other digital means, but definitely encourage papers and markers as a place to start. And then again, we're a pretty intimate group, so I think some sharing, we can look at each other's drawings and kind of just share what we learned, and then we'll wrap up with some recap and next steps. All right, so just again, super small group, so just like, raise your hand, shout out, don't raise your hand, whatever. I'd love to know sort of why are folks here? What prompted folks to attend this session? What piqued your interest? Anyone want to? Yeah, go for it. Awesome. So just, for the recording, someone is, familiar with threat modeling, hasn't done a ton of, and wants to learn more. Anyone else want to chime in? Yeah, go for it.
Maybe I don't have an idea of what threat modeling is, but I want to explain my security model.
Sorry, what was that last bit again? The last part?
I want to extend my knowledge around the security and the data
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, no, you're in the right place, just learning what threat modeling is and how to do it and kind of the basics. That's awesome. Anyone else? Alrighty. Yeah, so would also love to know what parts of Kubernetes you work on, if anyone would like to share that. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, go ahead.
I've been part of the SIG release for a while.
Awesome.
Mostly like the release process and looking at different groups like enhancements,
Great. Yeah. So just for the recording, yeah, SIG release, SIG signal. That's great. Awesome.
I've been working on a subproject called Control, which is a SIG app subproject, and another project called Flow People Discovery, which is a SIG node.
Awesome. So we got SIG node and you said SIG apps, I think.
Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Cool. And does anyone have in mind a target workflow that they want to draw today? Anyone have any ideas? It's totally fine if you don't. Yeah, go for it.
So I think of someone goes on the website and they want to download Kubernetes and they follow a link to download that, and like the workflow to support that.
That sounds awesome. That sounds like a really heavily used workflow, and that's a great place to start, as we'll discuss. Yeah. Anyone else have any ideas on what workflow they want to target today? Alrighty. Well, we will discover that together. Well, thanks everyone for sharing, and yeah, I think next iteration I'll go ahead and make the poll a little bit more interactive here. All right. So, what is a data flow diagram? Oh, yes.
Can I ask just one thing?
Please.
I'm obviously from the silly hat. Can somebody take notes, please? Great, thank you.
Thank you so much. Awesome. Yeah, no, that's a great, important part of what keeps the project going in general. All right, so yeah, what is a data flow diagram? Well, it's a picture, as you can see here, and Nadir knows this picture very well because this is a picture of, I think it's the bring up workflow for CAPI, something like that.
Yeah, so plus API is
Yeah, so just for a little bit of context in terms of the self-assessment subproject, it was kicked off by Nadir and Pushkar Yoglaker, who did a self-assessment or a threat model of CAPI. So this is one of the artifacts. This is their data flow diagram that they did. So that's just an example. And then here's a different example. This, I think this is a different version of the previous diagram that's a little bit more smoothed out. So really the point here is that, you know, the first data flow diagram you draw, it's totally fine if it's a little messy because you're going to iterate on it. So your pictures will get better over time. That's totally expected. All right, and then, you know, the slides will be available, and I put links. Both of those are public artifacts that are in the self-assessment folder in the SIG Security repo. So these are all public artifacts that you can go look at as part of the CAPI self-assessment write-up. All right, so why do you need to do a threat model to begin with? Well, it's all about visualizing your attack surface. The whole point here is to just, for your targeted workflow, just stamp out all of the different components that are at play, how they talk to each other over, you know, what ports, you know, is the communication encrypted, to just make sure that that information is visible and easy to follow, because then that's going to allow you to ask questions for basically how someone could potentially exploit it. So it's all about just visualizing the attack surface. All right, so in terms of choosing a workflow, choosing a place to start, a workflow that's heavily used is a really good place to target. So, you know, CRUD, create, read, update, delete. This gentleman here, you noted that you were thinking about charting, you know, someone wants to just get started with Kubernetes and click the link to download it and what those steps are. I think that's awesome because that probably happens hundreds, if not thousands of times per day. That's an excellent, you know, definitely a workflow that is a very heavily used and potentially exploitable. So anyway, that's just a good place to start. So as you're thinking about what workflow you want to target, just something simple that gets used a lot is great. All right, so then how do you draw one? How do you get to that beautiful diagram that we got to for CAPI? So this is where we're going to start getting interactive. So like I said, find some paper and markers that I put out here. You can also use, you know, like I said, Miro or Excalibur or whatever data flow diagramming, whatever diagramming software that you prefer. That's totally fine, but paper and markers is also great. So just grab some paper and markers. Then it's basically for your targeted workflow, just draw, you know, whatever shape you want, a square, a circle, a triangle for the major components of that system and just stamp it out. And then as you think through, okay, how a user would move through that workflow, it's really just drawing arrows for how data moves around that system. What components are talking to what? Are those connections encrypted? What ports are at play? That kind of thing. So just really basic stuff. And, you know, yeah, node encryption, label ports, and that's about it. That's your data flow diagram. It's just showing kind of the major components of the system, how they talk to each other for your targeted workflow, and that's what we're doing here today. All right, so yeah, this is now the interactive workshop part. I wanted to keep that short and sweet. So get some paper, get your software, whatever you want to use to draw this stuff out. And I'll be walking around with my helpers, Nadir and Grace and Kaylin.
Yeah, okay, so
parse
what I
the
think
different
about is,
kinds and
right, so,
places and code, something like that.
okay,
For
yes,
me,
that's fine, but,
my main focus isn't contributing to the social community method.
okay, so, think about what
Making
Kubernetes
sure I
is,
have
how,
Kubernetes to really good.
okay, are you just suggesting that, right, so the Kubernetes that are not with social operations
Yeah,
right, so, how, one of the
I
data flows,
recommend to check
how to reach that data from
about the different Kubernetes orchestration.
yeah.
So
So,
select the Kubernetes
So
folks, so I'm just going to walk around and just, if you're ready, or for those of you who are ready, I can just take a quick photo and then figure out how to put it up the slides so we can start thinking about just sharing and kind of chatting about what we did. So no rush and no pressure if you don't want your diagram up on the screen, but I know Tim is willing and able, so I'll figure out how to do that, but yeah. Sorry, keep going about and drawing and everything. I'll just quietly walk around. Alrighty, folks, let's just take a minute or two to wrap up some conversations, and then I am gonna go ahead and flip through some of the photos I've taken of the diagrams that have been drawn. And we'll do a little share back to the group so we can see each other's work, and we'll wrap it up from there. But yeah, let's give ourselves just a minute to wrap up. Okay. All right, so let's start looking at each other's work. So Tim, if you wanna, I don't know if you wanna come up here and just talk into the mic so we can all hear you. Thank you so much.
Hello. And I have brought my homework with me, so comment on. So, can I use the pointer?
Oh, please, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if this will show up. Yeah, cool.
Oh.
So, folks, I started drawing the process that someone would follow to download from the Kubernetes website. And imagine that they're going to download maybe kubectl or something like that. So on the right hand here, I've represented that end user, and what they're going to do is they're going to download it I have to move again. Sorry, from deal.cates.io that might soon have a fastly CDN in front of it. So that's HTTPS, and it's an HTTP GET. But where do they get the hyperlink from? Because if someone can subvert that hyperlink, that's not good for our project. That's possibly a headline story if we let that happen. So let's make sure, let's have a look at how we're protecting things. So a lot of the content comes from Netlify. We use Netlify to publish the project. I think we serve like 10 terabytes a month of content through Netlify. It's good CDN, seems to work quite well. And we've got some controls. For example, if we try to build the site, Netlify will tell us if we've got mixed content in there. So if we've got an HTTP link to download a script, that would be a bad thing. Netlify won't let us publish the site. But what does Netlify do? It runs a process called Hugo. So down here, I've got Hugo. Originally, I thought that was a container image, or I drew it as the container image because we use Hugo in a container for local previews, but then I remembered that that's not how Netlify works. I wish I'd taken a few photos of this as I drew it along, but I didn't know I was going to be talking you through. That build process goes and gets the data from Git. So when I was drawing this, I was drawing like right to left. I started with the end process, and I thought, what can go wrong? What are we doing, but what can go wrong? So this is GitHub. We've got a Git repo. We build the main branch. And then there's a GitHub API. So the thing that would change the website would be, it'd be Prowl telling GitHub that a merge was OK. So down here, I have drawn probably the oldest running Kubernetes cluster anywhere. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's quite old. But it's maintained. And so one thing to note is that this area down here, like, I've put these purple rectangles around to sort of indicate security boundaries. But we could draw a whole, extra blank piece of paper just for prowl. And that's fine. Like, I haven't covered everything. I've just gone, okay, there's a prowl thing. It had better be secure. And prowl also uses the GitHub API to update PR status, and that's still TLS and everything. It's good. And then some other things, to make a change to the website, some other things needs to happen. So a contributor pushes their changes, and they use Git, and that Git is trust on first use. That's the tofu up here. But it's okay, because let's say I trust the wrong host key, or GitHub publishes their private key and has an incident about it. That would be bad, but we've got controls on that. That change can only go live if one org member LGTMs the change, and we've got a sort of human process control, but for a change like this, it would need a separate approve. So I'm an approver for Kubernetes docs, but to change the live website as a sort of a process thing, docs changes that we're going to publish to the live website, we only approve really minor changes with the same person doing the LGTM and the approve. So we've got a bunch of process controls and logical controls so that prowl makes sure that these approves are in place, and then the merge happens. Except down here, I've drawn that we use some external JavaScript. And I had a chat with Grace and also with Nadir about different ways these things could go wrong. And yeah, it could go wrong in a few ways. What evidence do we have that these external projects are properly secure? How do we know that the dependencies that we have through these external projects are okay? So the transitive dependencies. And maybe we're not sure. So Grace suggested that we look at using SBOM or some other equivalent thing to look at the provenance of our external dependencies, not just trusting that it's got the right SHA, but that when we change it and we go, okay, there's a new version out, that we know we can trust that new version, and we can trust that the correct SHA of the new version doesn't bring in a dependency we don't want. Yeah?
Wow, just bring up Tim if you ever need a flawless talk, out of the blue. That was amazing. Thank you, yeah. Oh yeah, take your homework with you. Great, all right. And I forget whose diagram this is, but yeah, if you want to say a few words about it or not, that's totally fine. It's really just here to kind of show how things evolve. Oh, was it yours? Yeah. You are welcome to come up if you want to. That's all good. Yeah. No, it's a learning process. I think, Tim, the way you explained it, I think was really great in terms of, maybe next time a tip that I can include here is taking photos as you draw things, because things, you think through things as you draw. Drawing helps you think, and I think that that's a really important part of the process here. All right. Does anyone want to claim this one or say a few words about it? Sure, yeah, come on. Let me know which side you want.
Okay, so for my workflow, I chose what happens when you do a worker node join in your cluster. That is, when you supply a KubeADM join, what goes behind the scene. So I was trying to map that workflow because lately I've been doing a lot of joining of the worker node. So previously, as I started drawing, I was focusing on the sequence of communication, and then later, I cannot remember your name, sorry, apologies. Then we shifted our focus as to what data is flowing through this workflow. And then initially, when a user wants to do a worker node join, he needs to have a token. That token is generated by KubeADM. That is your gateway to talk to the API server and join your worker node. Once you print that token and you issue a KubeADM join command, what happens underneath is there are CSRs or certificates being exchanged. and that needs to be approved. So once the kubelet issues a CSR, that CSR is being approved by kubeadm. So kubeadm is like, yes, so this node is okay to join to the cluster. Now at this stage, there is a potential threat that we could have worker node impersonation. That is, anybody can claim that I am a worker node at this IP address. So having more discussion with Lucas also, then it's a known flaw in kubeadm, that there is a potential flaw with CSRs. Yeah, unfixable, but then to remediate, we have that either you switch that functionality off, that you don't do an automatic cert, but then you have a pain of going there and manually approving all your worker nodes into the cluster. The another thing that came out is we could be explicit in our kubeadm docs as to be a warning that there is this flaw, that it is known,
Yeah.
so that it helps to raise awareness and people are not caught off guard. So that
Awesome.
was the
Right
thought
on.
behind.
Awesome, thank you. Thank you, thank you. And let's see, last one here. Yeah, do you want to come up, say a few words, or? Totally up to you. Okay. Thank you.
Test. Okay. The project that is presented here is called the Node Feature Discovery, aka NFD. The purpose of this project is to basically extract features on specific nodes, and we will schedule pods on specific nodes based on these labels. Basic use case is that when we have like a node that has a GPU, we want probably to run a machine learning model on that specific pod using pod selectors. The solution has basically 4 components: the NFD master, the NFD master, the NFD worker, and 2 other components that were not drawn here because I don't really have so much information about them. But basically, the NFD master is a single pod that is running on any node, and the NFD worker is a daemon set. So we have each NFD worker running on each node, and the NFD worker will be responsible for extracting features that are on a specific node, and it will send these features to the NFD master. The NFD master will then apply or do some filtering based on some maybe specific user inputted filters or whatever we want. And then the NFD master will send the filtered labels or annotations to the API server, and the API server will label these nodes or add the annotations. Basically, we have some things that we need to take into consideration in terms of security. For example, the NFD worker won't have an ingress coming to it, so that we should limit the ingress, the incoming traffic to the NFD worker. Also, if hypothetically the NFD worker was hacked, what should we do to protect our nodes from accessing some critical files? This is something that we should take into consideration. Also, another use case is that when we have like this NFD worker running on node 2, what should we do so that the NFD worker send to the NFD master the nodes, the labels of that specific node, and not the labels of another node, so it can't fake them. So maybe we should have like specific certificate authority that will be responsible for the identity management of these pods, so that the NFD workers can't fake their identities. What else? I think these are points that are in my mind. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope it's clear. If anyone has any question, don't hesitate.
Yeah.
Thank
Rad.
you.
Thank you. Awesome. Well, folks, thank you all for sharing. This is, oh. Okay, yeah, come up. I think we can squeeze you in. Come on.
So we worked on the data flow for the basic, the most common flow for users of Cert Manager. So Cert Manager is a project for getting certificates from Let's Encrypt and other things. We found components, we drew arrows, and we found a few things. We struggled for a long time with Tim when we started drawing this, because I think we are too close to this project to be able to ask the questions, like what is doing this? And when someone from the outside, so that was Talita, who came and asked the questions, I think it works much better. So if there is one takeaway from this exercise, it is that if you're the engineer working on this project, take someone else to help you ask the questions. Don't do it yourself. It doesn't work, or it doesn't work for me. I was very frustrated because I think that's the reason I was frustrated. No one was, I could draw something, but it's just, but then the outcome of the discussion we had with Habitat was much better. I'm proud of this. So that's it.
Yay! Oh my God! Yay! We did it! What a wonderful outcome. Gosh, I just feel light as a feather. All right. Okay, so now what? So folks, thanks so much for just being open and for participating and for coming on this journey. So you might be thinking about, okay, well, what do we do with these diagrams? So, you know, it's never a bad idea to socialize this with your teams, with other people who work on these projects with you. Is there more information you can put in? You know, is there something you forgot? Or, oh, maybe the next workflow that we should do a flow diagram for is this, or whatever. You know, I definitely recommend getting this into, you know, your favorite digital diagramming tools. So, you know, whether it's Miro or Excalibra or Confluence, whatever, because then it becomes something that, you know, you can go back and modify in a more repeatable manner. And then, you know, reviewing them anytime there are major changes to your system is really important. So keeping them updated. This doesn't have to be a weekly or monthly thing. It can be quarterly or biannually, or just whenever there's a significant change that needs to be made. And then the dream here is to do a threat modeling session in addition to this exercise at Chicago. So if you want to come prepared with, you know, a mature data flow diagram to that session, we would love to see you there. And also, you know, tell your friends about what you did here today. Show them what you did. Maybe you'll inspire someone to come to this session in Chicago and be proud of what they did and what they learned. So yeah, that's really the thing here, is we're learning and we're paying it forward. All right, folks, I would love some feedback on this. This session was really fun, and I would love to understand what worked well and how we can make it better. So I'm also on Kubernetes Slack, a la Dewberry, but yeah, I'll just leave this up so y'all can photograph it. But really just enormous thank you for the enthusiasm and the participation here. All right, I think everyone's got it. Oh, go for it. Thank you for being awesome.